Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunvalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachanam pangam langyate gire yatrupatamam vande Shri Gurudinataranam Paramanandam Maha. Thank you very much for joining. So we were doing the group presentations on the 11th chapter. And last week we had finished the presentation by group 1. So today we will finish the presentation by the other 3 groups. And I will, after that, we'll go through a summation of the chapter, and time permitting, question answers. If not, next week question answers. Okay, so if the group 2 is ready.
Yes, Prabhuji, this is Kokila, Danvat Pranam, Rishila Prabhupada. So today I'm going to talk about the verses from 9 to 34. Bhaktivinoda Das Prabhuji said about how Arjuna is requesting Krishna to show the universal form and the reasons behind it. And Krishna agrees to it, and Krishna is now showing his universal form to Arjuna. So I would like everybody to imagine the form while I'm describing. It's very beautifully described in the Bhagavad Gita. So what Arjuna is seeing is a lot of eyes, bellies, mouths, millions of hands, legs. So he's seeing, and there is no beginning, end, or middle. And he is seeing a million effulgence that is rising of like thousands of suns that are coming together, that much of effulgence. And then he's seeing celestial, he's wearing celestial garments, and he's having a beautiful garlands around him, and he's holding millions of discs, club, and crowns. So Arjuna is saying that the universal form is spreading across all over the universes. Like how many, we are in one universe, the millions of universes there, the universal form is spreading across all the universes, in between the sky planets and the sky, spreading across everywhere. And Krishna has given him the Divya Chakshu to see this form sitting in one place, standing in one place. That is amazing. So we also need to imagine how Arjuna felt when he's seeing that. We can only imagine, but it's a very astonishing sight for Arjuna. So Arjuna looking at it, he also sees all the living entities within him and the demigods within him, and they're all bowing down to the Supreme Lord with fear. So Brahma, Shiva, Lord Shiva, all the sages, everybody, they are just beholding him with fear and bowing down to him, and they are also entering him. He's seeing all this sight. And Arjuna feels like he was Saka. He didn't know this magnanimous of the Supreme Lord. So he's bowing down and he's praying to him. And then at that point, he's really bowing down and praying to him. Oh, how much offense I would have made, that he's thinking to himself. It is so amazing. And then Arjuna also sees very terrific blazing mouth. And then in that mouth, he sees terrific teeth, big teeth. And he sees all the sons of Dhritarashtra, Dronacharya, Bhishma, and all the great warriors from both the sides, they are entering into the mouth, and it says that they're getting stuck in between the teeth, and they're getting smashed and brutally dead. So Arjuna is trembling at this point. He could not behold his posture. He's really trembling, and he's got scared, and now he's like asking the Supreme Lord, who are you? What is your purpose? Please let me know. And he's humbly requesting the Supreme Lord. And Krishna says that he is the time, the destroyer of all the worlds. And he says that he already destroyed everybody. And he says, he encourages Arjuna to fight. And he says that, okay, you are just an instrument. If you wish to fight or not, they are destined to die, and they are already killed by me. So it is just up to you to take up this, to become an instrument in my, to the will of the God. So then Arjuna realizes that whatever he thinks that, oh, if I stop fighting, I'll be out of the frustration, all that is just a puppet in the hands of the God. And then he understands that, and then he picks it up. Can you put the light on? Yeah. So that's how the description in this from 9 to 34. Basically, this form is temporary, but Krishna has to show this so that we understand that he's like, there's also an analogy also, like the president and the car analogy, and one of the summary I saw. So when we saw the president car, we know how rich he is, what kind of possession he has. Same, but the president is separate. Same way we see Krishna and all his possessions and his power and strength, but Krishna as a person. Thank you, Prabhuji. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. I like the way you captured the excitement and the awe and reverence that Arjuna was feeling when he saw the universal form. Thank you very much, Gokila Mataji.
Prabhuji.
So we will move on to group 3.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. Representing group 3, I will be discussing verse 32 to 46. In verse 32 to 35, Krishna responds to Arjuna's 2 questions. Who are you, and what is your mission or purpose? Krishna says, I am the Kalos, me, or time. I am the destroyer of the world. All the warriors who are assembled here will be destroyed except you. The destruction is already happened by the divine arrangement. Krishna asks Arjuna to arise and conquer the enemies and enjoy the prosperous kingdom. Krishna also says that Arjuna is just an instrument. All he's doing is his duty. Then Sanjaya speaks. After that, Arjuna asks to show his Vishwarupa. After seeing the Vishwarupa, Arjuna becomes astonished. While trembling in fear, Arjuna offers prayers to the Vishwarupa. Verse 36 to 38 is the prayers of Arjuna are divided into 4 sections. Verse 36 to 38 is the glorification. 39 to 40 offers obeisances. 41 to 44 is the apology, asking forgiveness for taking everything for granted. 45 to 46 are the request to the Vishwarupa. In verse 36 to 38, after seeing the Vishwarupa, Arjuna was able to make sense for what Krishna said, and then glorifies the Vishwarupa. 39 to 40 offer obeisances. Arjuna says, you are the supreme controller, you are fire, water, moon, Brahma, and you are all the pervading, and he offers his respectful obeisances. Verse 41 to 44 is the apology of Arjuna. Arjuna was feeling reverence and remorse that he did not deal with him properly. At times he called him, oh Krishna, hey Yadava, my friend. Then Arjuna apologizes for whatever he have done wrong in love. 45 to 46 is the request. After seeing the universal form, Arjuna becomes fearful and asks Krishna to reveal again his form as the personality of Godhead. Arjuna asked Krishna to change from his 1,000-armed form to the 4-armed form.
Thank you, Mataji. I like the way that you divided the prayers of Arjun into subcategories. That was new to me, and I hadn't heard about that. So there's always something new that we are learning from reading the Gita. Okay, so thank you again. Moving on to group 4.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I'll be representing the group 4, and we were given the topic why the Sham Sundar form of the Krishna is the rarest, and so here after Krishna revealed his universal form, he tells Arjuna that no one has ever before you ever seen the full form, the primal, unlimited, and the glorious form that Krishna showed to Arjuna, neither the demigods or Brahma or Shiva. So he was the first one to see the complete universal form. Even when he showed it to Duryodhana, it was partial form and it was not the same. And because Duryodhana was not bhakta, he was envious. He could not actually see or understand that form either. And neither by studying the Vedas or by performing sacrifices, even by charity or pious activities, or if someone does penances, none of these things can actually enable anybody, even Devtas or Jiva, to see the form of Sri Lord Krishna. And to see that, one needs a divine vision, which only comes when one has a divine vision, comes with the pure bhakti, when Krishna enables that, and only then Krishna reveals to pure bhaktas. And devotees always are interested in the Sham Sundar form of Krishna, and they are not interested in the universal form, even though it was, because first it is very like the people who want some mystic powers are more interested in it. The devotees do not reciprocate to that, because they want Krishna to reciprocate in loving and loving feelings to be exchanged with him, and they want to see him in the Sham Sundar form, because they can have loving exchanges in that form. And then when Arjuna was very much scared of it, and then he was bewildered, and then he told Sri Krishna to show him 4-armed forms and in Vishnu form, and then later on the 2-armed form was revealed. So one of the reasons that I understood that Krishna revealed, or Arjuna was bewildered and asked for the Vishnu form first, so that everybody in future, for like jivas like us, can understand that the Vishnu, so many Vishnus, all of them are emanating from Krishna only, and he is the supreme. And that Sham Sundar form is the rarest, and only the bhaktas with the pure love and devotion with the Divya Chakshu only can see it. In Brahma Samhita 538, it is stated that Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena, only a person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Sri Krishna. So like and a beautiful example that I heard was that like you can see the deity in a temple, like even the Lord Jagannath, people go and visit the Lord Jagannath deity. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the deity, that was very like, he used to go in ecstasy. He would not just see a deity form, he would see real Krishna, because person needs to have the eyes filled with the ointment of love, like the, so that's what it is. It's very rare, and nobody can see it unless you are a bhakta. Even the devtas are standing, even folded hands to see that. And later the word Sudurdasham is used, indicating that Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential, because only when Krishna reveals, then only that form is that, like, not many people even know that Krishna is supreme, and to even that knowledge is not being revealed. So even to get the darshan is like very, very, very rare. And the conclusion is that although to see the universal form of Krishna is very, very difficult and not possible for anyone and everyone, it is still more difficult to understand his personal form as Shyam Sundar. And only by undivided devotional service, one can really understand Krishna. And the last verse, which actually covers the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, which says that one who engages in my pure devotional service, free from contamination of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. And Krishna's Shyam Sundar form is the highest form of the spiritual realization, and only a pure devotee by Shuddha Bhakti can see him when Krishna reveals to him. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Narayan Mataji. Very, very good. Exhaustive description. So all descriptions very nice. I'm going to summarize the chapter. I'll run through the presentation and I'll try and summarize it through question answers. That way I can get more nectar from your realizations. So let me share my screen. Okay. This is for the 11th chapter. So the connection with the 10th chapter is that in the 10th chapter, Krishna, after describing all his opulences, he ends the chapter by saying how he is supporting the entire creation with a single fragment of himself. And Arjun is curious about that fragment, so he requests to see that. So if you look at the trend, we see that Krishna is progressively revealing himself to Arjun and to us, that he first revealed himself as a tattva. I'm the best of the best, I'm the essence of everything. So in chapter 10, we see that he's essentially, through so many analogies, he's making us understand that Krishna, that God is greatest. Right? So it's the opulence of the Lord. Not much information given about Krishna as a person, just his quality of greatness. In the 11th chapter, he reveals himself as we were discussing, as the universal form. And in a way, this is a vision that the yogis are attached to. So the yogis, they see Krishna as Paramatma, and Paramatma is the all-pervading aspect of Krishna. So as Paramatma, the universe is within Krishna, and as Paramatma, Krishna is within each and every atom of the universe. Then in the 12th chapter, we will see that Krishna reveals himself as in the personal form. So from tattva to vision to experience, because when there is a person, there is an experiential aspect of the relationship. You cannot have an experience with greatness. You cannot have an experience with universal pervasiveness. But you can have an experience with the person. You can laugh with the person, smile, quarrel with the person, and that is his vision for the devotees. So a question that I would like to ask you at this point is that there are 3 reasons that are given why Arjun wanted to see the universal form of the Lord. So if you could, each person can give me one reason. Hopefully 3 devotees can give me 3 reasons. Chaitanya Ras Prabhu?
To know the extensiveness of Krishna, or full sort of unlimitedness of Krishna.
Okay. Bhakti Vinod Prabhu?
Krishna Prabhu, I think Krishna also wanted to say that a lot of people can claim that they are God, but then if you're God, then you should be able to show your universal form. So it's to nullify that thing. Not everybody is God, or that's only one supreme. He showed the universal form.
So he showed the form to establish a standard for future gods.
Yeah.
Anybody comes in the future and says, I am God, then show the universal form. Right. Okay, very good. That is one reason. Prema Madhurya?
Prabhu, he says in 10:8, everything emanates from me. So maybe this is just like a follow-up.
Okay. Okay. That's a valid connection. Anybody else? Rangamataji?
It is to prove that he is the Supreme Lord, because people, when all these chapters, people are only hearing, but when they know that Arjuna has seen this universal form and they are also able to interpret, then they believe Krishna is the Supreme Lord. This is another way of.
Very good. Very good. So we have 2 reasons. So Arjun asked Krishna to show his universal form. He's convinced, right? He has already said that I know your God, but he wants to convince others also. So he asks Krishna to show the universal form, and he's also setting the standard for future claimants to the position of God. And there is one more reason. Okay, no worries. So, Naradi, Mataji, here?
Yeah, Prabhuji, is it that it was to show that everything, like all the relatives were going in his mouth, who did like Dronacharya, Bhishma, all the soldiers of both the armies were going in his. So he was trying to tell him that everything is already dead, and then he just has to be an instrument and he has to follow the instructions.
Okay, not generally considered as, because it's something that even Arjun is surprised to see. He doesn't know. Rupa Raghunath Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So Krishna is full of rasas, right? And this universal form is also giving us one rasa. So I think that's another perspective, right? It's like a 360 view of Krishna. So this is another view which should come out, which is why he showed it this form of universal form.
Okay, close, but not there. Shaktiman Prabhu, last attempt.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I'm thinking it's it's like how to remember Krishna when we are in this material world. By seeing, for example, if you see an ability in a man, that comes from Krishna. So it's like how to remember Krishna when you're in this material world.
Okay, that's close to. So the third reason is because of this special rasa that devotees have with the Lord, that they want to know everything about the Lord. So it's like if you're a fan of somebody, then you want to know everything. If somebody is a fan of, like, let's assume in India, of a cricketer, they want to know what was his highest score, lowest score, how many times he was out, what is his batting stats. So Arjuna is a super fan of Krishna. So he wants to know everything about Krishna. So when Krishna says that with a single fragment of myself, I support the universe, Arjuna says, show me. Right? So this is just a reflection of the special rasa that devotees have. That's why there are so many scriptures that are written, because it is to satisfy the insatiable desire of the devotee to continuously interact with the Lord. Okay, so moving on. So we see here the three reasons. Devotee wants to know everything about the Lord. He wants to show. He wants to show beyond doubt that Krishna is God, and he wants to establish a standard for future paths. So in this we also see Arjun's humility, right? So Arjun is saying, I want to see it. But then he says, if you think I am qualified. That's the mood of devotee. That they ask, but in a prayerful mood. So Arjun is not saying, okay, if you're God, prove it and show me that you are a universe, that you are the universal form. Because he has already accepted Krishna as God. But he's saying, if you think I am qualified. Sometimes in this process of bhakti, devotees become doubtful. They doubt Krishna, they doubt themselves, they doubt the process. So there are three components. There is Bhagavan, Bhakti, and Bhakta. Right? So Srila Prabhupada says that bhakti is a scientific process. And when he says scientific, it means that it is observable and repeatable. Right? So you can observe the process and you can repeat it and get the same results. So the process is fine. Krishna is God. That part is fine. So when there is a problem in one's bhakti, then one can understand that out of these three aspects, Bhagavan, Bhakti, and Bhakta, the problem is with the devotee. And the problem is more often than not rectified by practicing humility. We see Arjun practicing that, right? So he is in a problematic situation. And we see this component of humility becoming stronger and stronger. So humility, it's a little bit of an aside, but there is this famous puzzle that a professor came and he drew a line on the board. And then he says that how can you shorten this line without reducing its length? Right? And people try different things. And then ultimately one person comes and draws a longer line next to it. And says, now line is shorter. So that is humility. Humility is not considering yourself to be short, but considering Krishna to be great. Considering that the other devotees are great. So it's not low self-esteem, but it is appreciating the greatness of those who are around you. And Arjun is exemplifying that quality. So, wanted to follow up with another question. So we saw the end-to-end description of Krishna's as a universal form in the 11th chapter. Can anybody tell me how many times is the universal form of Krishna described and by whom? This is just in the 11th chapter. Okay, it requires one to step back. Bhakti Vinod, do you have a
I think 3. I'm not sure. Sanjaya describes, and then Krishna himself describes, and then Arjun describes.
Very good. Very good. So the universal form is described 3 times in the 11th chapter. In verses 5, 6, and 7, Krishna gives a preview to Arjun of the universal form. That's the first description. In verses 9 to 14, Sanjay is describing the universal form as Arjun sees it. So he's speaking to Dhritarashtra, what is Arjun seeing as the universal form, but it is Sanjay who is describing it. In verses 15 to 31, Arjun is now describing the universal form as he is seeing it. Arjun sees the universal form in 2 ways, and we will discuss about that later. So because there is this repetition of description of the same object, the chapter is a little confusing, because we see Krishna describing, Sanjay describing, Arjun describing, and there is repetition. There is this, firstly, the universal form is indescribable. How do you describe something that is incomprehensible? So that itself makes it difficult. And then it's being described 3 times with slight variations, right? So Krishna describes the form to prepare Arjun and also to increase his curiosity, right? So he says that, behold, my hundreds and thousands of varied, divine, and multicolored forms. Then when Sanjay describes, he talks about the manifestations of the when Krishna is describing, then he's describing about how the Adityas and the Vasus and the Rudras and the Ashwini Kumars. So Krishna talks about these 4, which together form the 33 principal demigods, right? So he says the Adityas. So there are 12 Adityas, Vasus, 8 Vasus, Rudras, there are 11 Rudras, and Ashwini Kumars. So there are 2 Ashwini Kumars. So if you add it, there are 33. So sometimes we say that there are 330 million demigods. Right? We say 33 crores demigods. And there are 33 principal demigods that come in this category. Now, Krishna at this point also says that no one has seen this form before. So why does Krishna say that no one has seen this form before? Because Yashoda Maya has seen it, Duryodhana has seen it, and he's showing it to the same universal form to Arjun. Why does he say that no one has seen this form? What was so unique about this display of his universal form? Okay, I'm looking for some diversity in answers. Gayatri Mataji, go ahead.
Maybe this form is very dynamic. It's moving, and it's the pictures are changing. So the picture which Mother Yashoda saw was different from what Duryodhana saw, and it's different from what Arjuna saw.
Okay. Vamsi Gopal Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think here Krishna wants to show past, present, and future to Arjuna, just to make him instrument for the.
Very good. So the unique aspect of this universal form is his Kal Rupa. So Krishna had shown his universal form, maybe with different nuances, but he had shown his universal form before. Right? And then he says, I'm showing you this, which nobody has seen before. He didn't show Yashoda Maya his Kal Rupa. Didn't show Duryodhana his Kal Rupa. But to Arjun, and at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he shows the Kal Rupa. Okay, follow-up question. Why does Arjun need Divya Chakshu? Why does he need divine eyes to see the universal form? Ritesh Prabhu, please go ahead.
Even though this is a temporary form, it is still transcendental form. So you need transcendental eyes or vision to see this form.
He was already seeing Krishna's two-armed form, right? That is transcendental too, correct?
Yes.
So, yeah. So, not that. That's not the reason. Vanita Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. I think the way I'm thinking is that Krishna, you have to completely surrender. Once you accept him as the Supreme Lord and completely surrender, that gives, then Krishna reveals himself to those devotees in his universal form.
Okay, thank you. Kokila Mataji.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Krishna Prabhupada. Prabhuji, I think because Arjuna has a prem chakshu, because he has a relationship with Krishna and he sees this personal form, he had to downgrade his vision to Divya chakshu to see the universal form.
Very good. So that's the reason that Arjun was actually seeing a much more superior transcendental form of Krishna. So Prabhupada says that he had to downgrade. In the purport, Prabhupada writes that devotees who are correctly situated in a transcendental relationship with Krishna are attracted by his loving features. And here then Prabhupada describes the transcendental form not by a godless display of opulences. This is how Prabhupada is describing the universal form. So Vishwanath Chakravarti, when he comments on this verse, he says that Arjuna as a devotee was used to seeing the two-armed form of Krishna. He had no attraction for the universal form. Thus, he did not have the vision to see it. So this is a little tricky part, so it can be understood through an analogy. That let's assume that there is a man and he is used to seeing the form of his wife. So he appreciates her beauty, her smile, her form, etc. Then one day that man gets X-ray vision. Now when he looks at his wife, what does he see? He sees bones and muscles and organs and blood and mucus and stool. So in a way, his vision is different. One can say that he is able to see more. But is he going to say that I want to retain this X-ray vision? No, because he is used to seeing the pleasing form of his wife. So factually, that man would say that with this X-ray vision, my vision has been downgraded. Right? Even though he has gotten some more ability, but what it is delivering him is something less. Right? So he's now able to see through the skin and etc. So he has more ability, but what it is delivering is less. It is giving him much less pleasure. So same thing happened with Arjun, right? So Arjun is used to seeing the pleasing two-armed form of Krishna. And now when with the Divya Chakshu he sees the universal form, it is not attractive. And that's why he will make this case that not interested in it. So do you have a question, Naradi, or you just forgot to lower your hand? Okay, maybe she forgot. So now that Krishna has described the universal form, Sanjay describes the version of Arjun Krishna, right? That he uses the word Divya 4 times in describing, right? Saying that everything is extraordinary. Ornaments, weapons, garlands, fragrance, everything about him is extraordinary, right? And we see this mode of repetition. It's like supposing you're walking on the street and suddenly a snake comes. So you say, snake, 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 right? And somebody would say, fine, there's a snake. But because there is anxiety, there is excitement, repetition comes as a symptom of that. So we see Sanjay in all the excitement that he's experiencing, and same thing will happen with Arjun. We'll see this repetition, that hundreds and thousands of suns, etc. And in describing the universal form, all three, Krishna and Sanjay and Arjun, they use what is known as utpreksha. So utpreksha is basically metaphor for poetic license. So it's a way of trying to describe that is indescribable through something that can be described. And so the universal form is really, it's like saying that Krishna's eyes are like lotus petals. Krishna's eyes are much more beautiful than lotus petals. Like Radha Govind Maharaj in one of his class says that when the devotee actually sees Krishna, he chastises himself that what a fool I was that I was comparing Krishna's eyes to lotus petals. They're infinitely more beautiful than a lotus petal. But because the lotus petal is what is the closest in beauty, because the lotus petal is closest in beauty, it is utpreksha. One uses that as a metaphor. Now, here we notice also that Arjun is bewildered and astonished, right? So we see that description. So this is the second description of the universal form, and now we will see the description of the universal form by Arjun himself. And we see the same mood that Arjun is once again describing the universal form. He says, I see everybody from Brahma to Vasuki. So Brahma is sitting on top of Brahmalok and Vasuki is at the bottom of Patalok. So essentially he says he is seeing all the 14 planetary systems. And same thing, he sees many hands and legs, and he says everyone is perturbed and so am I. Right? So all the devas are surrendering. So in the 10th chapter, Krishna had said that neither the host of demigods know me because I am the source of them. Here we see that not only do they not know him, they are also in awe and fear of him. Now in verse 24 and 25, we see that Arjun is also sharing the same sentiment with the devas, that they are scared, I am also scared. So question here is, can somebody, and one person can describe one part of the answer, 3-part answer. What are the 3 moods of Arjun as he goes through this process of asking and viewing the universal form? Okay, I'm trying to get to devotees who haven't answered in the past. Ajit Krishna, you want to try? Just one, give one mood.
Oh, sure, Prabhu. So one is of humility.
Okay. I'm going to modify that a little bit. It's one of deference, because his mood basically was that of a guru and disciple. So what you say is right. Humility, and more it was just in the mood of he's in the presence of the Lord. So it's just in the mood of Aishwarya. Right. So that's one bhav. What else? Anybody else? Bhakti Vinod Prabhu?
The mood of fear. He's fearful, like the demigods, because he's saying the Kalaru.
That's correct. That's the mood of fear. And third mood. Chaitanya Prabhu?
To me, two things come up. One is awe and reverence, and the other one is I just had I forgot. The second is the appreciation that he's so and limitless.
Okay, thank you. Close. Ram Tulsi Mataji? You're on mute, Mataji. You're still on mute.
Okay. Mood of bewilderment, and Arjuna is bewildered by what he sees.
Very good, very good. So those are the three moods that Arjuna goes through. So he first approaches Krishna in mood of deference, humility, presence of the Guru. Second mood that we see is amazement. When he sees Krishna spread all over the universe, he's amazed that this is such a wonderful thing. And the third mood that he manifests is that of fear. So this is what the acharyas call as rasa sandhi, when one rasa is eclipsed by another. So as a bonus question, if you can answer it, good, but it's not from the 11th chapter. Where else do you see this rasa sandhi in Bhagavad Gita? Gayatri Mataji, go ahead.
Maybe in the first and second chapter, when he was talking to him as a friend before, and then when he surrendered to him as a disciple.
Very good. So that's the other place where we see rasa sandhi, where from Sakhya it becomes Vatsalya, because the relationship of a disciple to a guru is that of a father to a son. So Prabhupada mentions that now the joking talks between Arjuna and Krishna stop. And now Krishna is the guru and he is ready to instruct Arjuna. Very good. I'm happy that you're all reading meditatively on the Bhagavad Gita. So this is the description of the Vishwarup. And
can I ask one question, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. I'm sorry, I thought you hadn't.
No, sorry, just quickly. What about when Krishna was, when he appears to Vasudeva and Devaki as four-armed Vishnu, and then he changes to a baby, right? Is that a mood also of changing?
That is another example. You're absolutely right. Yeah. That it changes from Vatsalya to Aishwarya.
Aishwarya, right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Arjun, as you know, he has traveled to Swarglok. So he is used to seeing amazing things, right? That's and he's a Kshatriya, like very, very valorous. So when Krishna shows him his universal form is spread over the universe, it's amazing, but there's no fear in him, right? He's seen, maybe not to that extent, but he has seen wonderful things in the past, and by nature he's courageous. But when he sees the Kal Rupa, that's when he becomes fearful. So if you watch the flow of the verses, you will see this difference. That only when he sees the Kal Rupa, then we see that the mood of Arjun changes. Now the question may be asked, this is rhetorical, I'm not asking you, that Arjun being a pure devotee, why is he scared of even time? It said that devotees are not scared of death, because time is essentially death. And that's how Krishna is showing his Kal Rupa. He's showing it as death. And one of the Acharya comments, because Krishna has downgraded Arjun's vision. So that Arjun who was seeing Krishna as a friend is now seeing him differently. It's the same analogy that the husband who was happily seeing the pleasing form of his wife, now with the X-ray vision, he sees the scary form of his wife. And that's because his vision has now been downgraded. So that is why Arjun experiences fear. What are the other things that Arjun sees in the universal form? Like he says, I see, and it gives the name of various personalities that are going into the mouth of the universal form. But if you notice that one person he does not name, so he does not name Karna. He says, I see that Sutputra heading into the form. Sutputra essentially means son of, Suta is slave or charioteer, so son of a charioteer. So acharyas say that it indicates his deep enmity towards Karna. He just had a lot of distaste for Karna. Now, when Arjun sees these personalities rushing into the mouth of the universal form, as per Vedanta Desika is one of the commentators from the south, very, very erudite commentator on the Bhagavad Gita. I think he's in the Sri Sampradaya. He says that Arjun uses two analogies to talk about the flow of these personalities into the mouth of the universal form. He said, just like rivers, this is verse 28, and just like moths, which is verse 29. And Vedantika Desika says the difference is that people meet death in two different ways. So the flow of a river into the ocean is natural. The river happily goes into the ocean, and then the river is nourished by the ocean. However, for the moths, it is unnatural. They get bewildered by the light, and they rush into the flame, and not wanting to enter the flame, they enter it by bewilderment, and they die. So this is the difference between those who are in knowledge and those who are not. The river is those who are in knowledge, and they prepare for the end, and they happily go into it knowing that they will have a superior destination. And then the moths are those who are bewildered by everything. People are too much bewildered by materialism. So Arjun then asks Krishna, So I may have to go a little bit over time. I apologize for that, but I don't want to break it in the middle. So Arjun then he asks Krishna, who are you? And what is your mission? So what does Krishna answer to the question, who are you?
That he is the time form, time, Kalru.
He says, time I am. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mataji, please raise your hand before answering the question. But your answer is correct. He says, Kalo Asmi, that time I am. And what is the mission? That he says, what is my mission? Ram Tulsi Mataji?
To destroy everyone in the world except the Pandavas.
Very good. So he says, that's my mission. So an interesting trivia over here is that this verse 32 of the Bhagavad Gita is quoted by Oppenheimer. So Oppenheimer is considered to be the father of the atomic bomb. So when the first atomic bomb test was done, and this was done in 1945 in New Mexico, and he was obviously the lead scientist there. And then when he was commenting on that, so I wanted to read that snippet. So what Oppenheimer said is, we knew the world would not be the same. A few people laughed, a few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty. And to impress him, he takes on his multi-armed form and says, now I have become death, the destroyer of the worlds. And then he says, I suppose we all thought that one way and or the other. So interestingly, Oppenheimer was also a Sanskrit scholar. So he had read the Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit, and he actually quoted the verse. So moving on, I'm going to try to be a little bit faster now. So in 3 verses, and this is verse 32, 34, 33, and 34, we see that Krishna urges Arjun to willfully surrender unto him as a devotee, to be a river, not a moth, right? So Krishna says that my mission is that everyone with the exception of Pandavas will be killed. Now, factually speaking, some personalities from the Kauravas also survived. But the principle is that the majority is everybody will be killed. Now, Arjun may say, thank you very much, Krishna, for taking care of this. Now I am going. So Krishna, he forestalls that and says that he addresses Arjun as Sabyasachi. So Sabyasachi, Arjun had this ability to fight with both his hands. Sabyasachi is ambidextrous. So he could shoot arrows with both his hands. He says that you are an expert in battle, but you become nimitta matra. You become a mere instrument. And Prabhupada says that this verse shows the mood of the devotees. What is the mood of the devotees? Everything is being done by Krishna, but they are simply an instrument assisting him. Actually, the mood of the devotees is that they're not even assisting Krishna. They're assisting the Guru, who is assisting the Guru, who is assisting Krishna. Right? Daso, 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 amsi. Right? So that is the mood that Krishna is asking Arjun to take up. That everything is being done by me, but you still aspire to do the best that you can. Because can you imagine that if you, for a moment, we sit down and say that we are Krishna's instrument? How glorious would that be? Like if we were doing one thing with X number of effort and this thing sinks in our heart, that we are actually an instrument of Krishna. We will be working with 1,000,000 times X effort. Just getting that connection in our mind that yes, we are an instrument of Krishna. So, so moving on, we see that in verses 35 to 46, we see the prayers by Arjun. And as was explained nicely, that the prayers begin with Arjun glorifying Krishna, paying obeisances unto him. Then we see Arjun apologizing to Krishna. So why is Arjun apologizing to Krishna? Raj Prabhu, you have a question or you want to answer the question?
No, I had a question, Prabhu. Sorry.
Okay. Hold on to it. We'll come to it later. Gayatri Mataji, why is Arjun apologizing to Krishna?
So Arjun, by seeing all this power of Krishna, this Kalrupa, he was saying that he was probably disrespectful when he was sometimes joking with Krishna, when he was behaving to him as a friend.
Yes. Yes. So thank you. So Arjun is now thinking of his past interactions with Krishna. He says, sometimes I called you O Krishna. And Vaishnava Chakravarti says this, the right form should have been addressing him as Sri Krishna. Then sometimes he would call him as Vasudev, son of Vasudeva. And Vaishnava Chakravarti says that is disrespectful because Vasudeva was a minister to a king. Ugrasen was the king, Vasudeva was a minister, Krishna was the son of a minister. Arjun himself is a prince. So essentially what he's saying is that you are inferior to him. Sometimes he would say, oh Yadava, right? He would actually say, oh best of the Yadav. And that was again disrespectful because the Yadavas were actually a very minor clan and they were also cursed. They were cursed by Yayati. So, and Arjun belonged to the Kuru Vamsha. The Kuru Vamsha were the predominant, they were the predominant ruling clan. All the other clans were subservient to them or under them. So they had these different levels of hierarchy. And the Kurus were at the top of it. So saying the O Yadav was reminding Krishna, you come from the minor clan that is actually being cursed by Yadati, that nobody amongst the Yadavas can ever be a king. So now he says he feels mortified by this. So he says that he addresses Krishna as Achyuta. Achyuta means that one who is infallible. The point that Arjuna is saying is that I am fallible, which is why I have been insulting you. But you are infallible. So you should thereby forgive me. And he talks about 3 rasas, which have forgiveness very strong in them. Right? He says, as a father tolerates the impudence of a son. That's the Vatsalya rasa. Or he says, as the friend tolerates the impertinence of another friend, which is Sakhya. Or the wife tolerates the familiarity of a husband. Right? That is Madhurya. So in these rasas, the person actually, the reason that they're impudent is not because they're disrespectful, but because they're absorbed in the rasa. They're relishing the rasa. It's the child is not disrespectful to the father because he thinks less of him, but because they have a relationship of joking and the son teasing the father, the son trying to get the father to become a horse. That's the relationship, right? So he's saying that that's why I was apparently disrespectful to you, because it was covered by my love for you. So technically, Arjun's relationship with Krishna is known as Vishramba Sakhya. So it is friendship, it is intimate, and I'm sorry, it's not Vishramba Sakhya, it's Gaurava Sakhya. So it is friendship but there is an acknowledgement of opulence. The Gopas in Vrindavan, their relationship is Vishramba Sankhya, where there is intimacy but no opulence. Then we see that Arjun does not accept the universal form. So, so the reason that Arjun does not accept the universal form, because the emotion that it evokes in him, that of awe and reverence and fear, is counter to his sthaibhav, counter to his relationship with Krishna, which is that of friendship, right? So in verse 46, he says, I now want to see you four-armed. And then in 47 to 55, we will say that now I want to see your two-armed form of Krishna. So Krishna agrees to show his personal form, but here he makes this point, and he'll make this point twice. The same point. He says that not by the performance of sacrifice or charity or pious activities can you see this form. What does this mean? That through karma, you cannot see Krishna's personal form. Then he says, neither by studying the Vedas. What does that mean? By Gyan, you cannot see his. And then he says, nor by severe penances, which is Astanga, right? So karma is at a physical level, Gyan is at an intellectual level, Astanga is at a mental level, right? So he says, not by physical prowess, not by intellectual prowess, not by mental power can you see me, but he says you can see me by bhakti, which is at a spiritual level. So bhakti is deep in the heart. Rupa Goswami says that bhakti is like what a young boy has for a young girl. It is primeval. Nobody needs to teach the young boy to be attracted to the young girl. It happens naturally and it is very powerful. Kunti Devi describes bhakti as like the rivers rushing into the ocean. So the difference between bhakti and the others is that bhakti is bestowed. The others are acquired. So in a way, because you have to wait for the mercy, it is more difficult. But also because what is bestowed on you carries you, it is more easy. Right? It's like you're waiting in the other, in Karm, Gyan and Asthan, the effort is on you. So you have a sense of control, but you also have to endeavor. In Bhakti, Krishna bestows it. Krishna empowers you. But you have to wait for it to be bestowed. So Acharya said Krishna also showed the universal form to assure Arjun that there will be no sins attached to the killing. Because if you remember in the first chapter, one of the fears of Arjun was that sin will attract, sin will be attached to me by killing the elders. So here Krishna is saying, I've killed them. You're not killing them. So there's no sin that will be attached to you. And so we see that verse 53 and 48 are identical. It's just the repetition of Krishna saying, what is the qualification to see or not to see, how one cannot see. Finally then, in verse 55, which is considered to be the essence of the Gita, Krishna makes 5 very important points for Arjun, right? So he says that, 1, that bhakti must be performed purely with no desires for any other attainments, right? He says, Mad Bhakta. Then he says, bhakti must be free from contamination. Sangha Varjit. So what are the contamination? From karma, gyan, or associating with people who are inimical to Krishna, Sangha Varjita. Third, he says, Krishna must be the only object of this bhakti. He says, mat karma prat. Right? So respect all other personalities like Devas, Brahmas, and Shiva, but understand that only Krishna is the root of everyone. Fourth point, that Krishna says that make me your exclusive supreme goal of life. He says, mat parma, me and only me. And the fifth point he says is nirvaira, which is interesting. He says that while I'm saying me, does not mean that you become disrespectful to others. So nirvaira means become a friend to everyone. Focus exclusively on me, but also respect everyone else in connection with me. Right? So this gets us to the end of the chapter. So quick questions. Is the universal form real or imaginary? Vamsi Gopal Prabhu?
It's a real form.
It is real form. Okay. Somebody else? Let's see. Vrajnath Prabhu?
It's temporary.
It is temporary. That is correct too. Kokila Mataji?
Yeah, Prabhu, it's temporary, but it's real.
Temporary. Very good. So yes, it is temporary, but it is real. Second question, is the universal form material or spiritual? Chaitanya Prabhu?
It's spiritual, but in material universe.
Okay. Ranga Mataji?
There is nothing material in Krishna, Prabhuji. So everything is spiritual, but his energy is being showed as material, in material form.
Okay. Ajit Krishna Prabhu?
I think that answered it, Prabhu. I mean, it is material, but it's a temporary manifestation. And of course, it's a transformation of Krishna's spiritual energy.
Okay. Yes. So Prabhupada makes this point very clear that the universal form is material. Because if it was spiritual, he would not call it as a godless display of opulence. So if you read the purports carefully, there are several places where Prabhupada makes the same point again and again, that the universal form is material. It's not spiritual. Okay, last question. Based on the 11th chapter, how would you prove that the personal form of Krishna is the highest?
Can you repeat the question, Prabhu? Sorry.
Based on the 11th chapter, how would you prove that the personal form of Krishna is highest? Naradi Mataji.
So, Prabhuji, because the universal form is clearly depicting all the demigods, even the top of the Brahma and the Shiva, and everything is coming in him, coming from him, and also like after that when he shows the Vishnu form, and that depicts that even the Vishnus and everything, even the Mahavishnu and the Shirodaksha Vishnu and the Paramatma form, so everything is coming from him. That is being completely clearly displayed, so nobody can say that Krishna is coming from Vishnu or any other demigod is bigger than him, because everything is emanating from him.
Very good, very good. Yeah,
Bigger than him.
you're spot on. So the fact that Krishna is able to show the universal form, to show the four-handed form, means that Krishna is the source of it. The universal form cannot show Krishna. Just as you will never see Lord Vishnu showing himself as Krishna. Krishna will show himself as Lord Vishnu. Like once when the gopis were looking for Krishna, then Krishna took the four-armed form. And the gopis said, Hare Krishna, Lord Vishnu, and they went away. In fact, they asked him, have you seen Krishna? So they had no particular attachment to it. But Krishna can take the four-armed form of Vishnu. But you will never see Lord Vishnu taking the two-armed form with a peacock feather and a flute. So the source can take the form of the emanation, not the other. Right. So this is a very powerful way of proving in a very simple way that the two-armed form of Krishna showed the four-armed form and the universal form, which means that the two-armed form is the basis of all other emanations. So I'll end over here, and for next week, so next week is the last chapter in the second module, and it only has 20 verses, and factually speaking, it only has 9 verses, because the last 8 verses are the last set of verses are qualities. The first is introduction. Only the middle part is the chapter, so I can't divide that chapter more. But since we are at a point where we have covered all the angas along with Krishna, so I would like, so now you would have to look at all the chapters from 1 to 12. So if group 1 can explain how can karma help in attaining Krishna, group 2, Gyan, Astang, Bhakti. And the reason this is important is that we make it a practice to condemn these forms. This Krishna does that right now, right? By karma you can't see me, by Gyan you cannot see me. Yet Krishna speaks about karma and Gyan and Astang. So there must be some value in it, right? And we need to understand what is the value there. So if each group can take this as a topic and 5 minutes speak on it. So next week we'll start with any question and answers on the 11th chapter, and then we'll have the presentations, and then after that, time permitting, we will do the either the part of the 12th chapter or the entirety of it. Any questions on the presentations? Raj Prabhu, you had a question. You have a hand raised on for a while. Go ahead.
Sorry, I can ask next week if you, but let me ask it. So earlier you were saying that we are nimit matra. So when we do something, it is Krishna, but we are nimit matra. So does it apply only to good deeds, or if we are doing something bad to somebody, are we nimit matra in that case also?
So it's a good question, Prabhu. So the definition of nimit matra is that you consider that you have a tool in your hand, and when you say that this is a tool in my hand, the tool will do what you ask the tool to do. Like you have a hammer, and then if you're using it to beat down a nail, the hammer will do what you're asking the hammer to do. So nimitta matra means you do what Krishna is asking you to do. It's not that you say that I'm going to steal, but I'm Krishna's nimitta matra, so it's okay, or I'm going to commit sinful activities, but I'm Krishna's nimitta matra. The first definition of nimitta matra is that become an extension of the desire of Krishna. What does Krishna want you to do? And then do it. That's how you become nimitta matra.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Naradi, Madhuji?
Prabhuji, the topic, the assignments for the next week, is it everybody's doing the same or is it different? I didn't understand it.
No, I have divided it amongst the 4 groups. So you can see my screen, Madhuji?
Oh, okay.
I've also put this in the group, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. My apologies for running over time. I'll try and be better from next week. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Kut Vaishnavind ki Ila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaur Ke Namah. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.